Hello, dear friends. I welcome you to ALLATRA TV UK. We continue taking interviews within an amazing worldwide project, the Creative Society. We want to build a society where every human in the world can live in health, in peace, and in happiness. And every day, people join this project to bring it about into life faster. So let's talk about the Creative Society with our amazing guest today. And just before we introduce him, I'd like to mention my co-host who's going to be joining me today, and that's Olga. So Olga, can you please go ahead and introduce our guest?
Thank you, dear Nari. Yes, I'm very glad to introduce our welcome guest today. Today we'll talk to Dr. Amarendra Sahoo, Chairman, Grameen Pragati Foundation, till recently Chairman, Atom Technologies, and Professor of SRM University-AP. This actually is just like a 1% of bio which Dr. Sahoo sent to us. So I will ask Dr. Sahoo to tell more about yourself, your career, and your mission in life, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Nari and Olga. It's my pleasure to be amidst you. I am very fond of the word creative and more so about the Creative Society. The reason I am here, you could, you've already talked about my brief introduction. Grameen stands for villages. India, I come from, lives in villages. Pragati is the progress. Okay, so this is a not profit voluntary organization. I am the chairman of this organization called Grameen Pragati Foundation. Our job is to encourage entrepreneurship, impact, skill development, capacity building to the rural and semi-urban youth. We have also covered the urban sector where we have a lot of semi-skilled and under-skilled workers. So our task is to reskill them, upskill them, make them ready to contribute to the society. Our education system is not very, very holistic, not very employment friendly. So our task is to make those engineers, entrepreneurs, skill ready so that they can take up any new emerging challenges, activities, occupations of the society. Before this, I used to be a part of the central bank of my country called Reserve Bank of India. During my 3 decades tenure, I used to handle the rural planning and credit department, which deals with the financial inclusion. So having been a part of different remote areas of a vast country like India, I have traveled extensively, interacted with the people, and we discovered that about more than 30% of the India's population do not have a banking access. So our task was to enter each and every household of the country in the remote areas and provide them banking services. So with this kind of background, I also joined a company called Atom Technology. Atom Technology is nothing but use of technology to provide basic amenities, basic services to the society. And I used to be a professor, so my task was to teach, train, mentor the students. So this is briefly my quick background. I'll be very happy to address any of your questions that you're going to reach. I have gone through the entire 8 different aspects of the Creative Society, and you feel free to ask me on any of these 8 aspects. I'll be happy to contribute, to narrate with you my experience, and maybe take some questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sahoo. You described an amazing movement and charity there. And obviously, the work that you've been involved in over so many years is so empowering, so motivational. And I'm sure you've changed, and impacted many people's lives in a very positive light. So, well done for that. So on that note, please could you tell us what you like the most about the Creative Society project, why you feel it's an important project for humanity, and how you envisage the Creative Society in your words?
Creative Society stands for common values, common beliefs, common language, not pertaining to the typical consumerist society that we live in recently, to move away from the consumerism to a creative life. In the last one decade, including the current pandemic, coronavirus ridden society, where lots of people have lost their livelihood, lost their lives, rendered jobless. Still, the e-commerce companies like Amazon worldwide, in India we have several e-commerce companies, have made huge profits despite the economic slowdown. This is possible because the rich people are becoming richer, not by acquiring new resources, but at the cost of the poor people. The poor people are becoming poorer because they have lost their lives, more importantly, lost their livelihoods. So it is the rich becoming richer at the cost of the poor people. That is what is the price one has to pay in a consumerist society, where people are all eager to acquire, buy, consume more and more goods, services, gadgets beyond their basic necessities of shelter, food, and survival. So this results in acquiring, buying, running after, hankering after luxury goods, semi-luxury goods, more than that you require. So this kind of society is highly lopsided, full of sadness. You cannot have a society where the majority of the population are denied the basic necessities of life, and at the cost of their livelihood, the minority of the population have the luxury of increasing their consumerism day by day, losing their happiness. You know how the families in the last 1.5 years of lockdown have been confined to their homes, resulted in a lot of domestic violence and loss of happiness. So what is required in this kind of environment, which has been pronounced in the last 1.5 years, thanks to corona virus and COVID-19 pandemic, is we have to get away from this kind of lifestyle to a lifestyle which Creative Society espouses. That is self-governance, peace, removal of hunger, removal of poverty. So this is all my organizational goal and objectives, how to take people away from consumerism and take them closer to the Creative Society, where you have happiness, smile in everyone's face, rather than smile in somebody's face when others are crying and losing hopes of survival in the difficult times. And the typical example of this consumerist society, as you know, they call it a prototype, started way back in the United States of America, where I happen to study and work for a while, and I visit every year. And this kind of culture has come to right our next door, Singapore. Wherever you go nowadays for a visit, you'll find huge malls displaying clearance sale. everything has to go by end of the day. As a result, prompting people to go and buy more than their need, and end up absolutely, in a society where there is a great division between have and have nots. And all this, mind you, is at the cost of the climate, at the cost of increasing the carbon footprints. So the global warming has come right to the doorstep of a poor developing country. And most of the countries, including the United States of America, is now having this serious environmental hazards. You have fires taking place in all the forests in a very developed part of the world, that is in the California, Los Angeles, Texas. Most of the mountains are withering away. There are severe floods happening. Despite the growth of technology, life has become very risky proposition, and life is losing its glamour and charm. So our goal is to arrest all these negative aspects of consumerism and start looking at what is the basic necessities of life, whether each and every human being in this world, out of about 1.3 billion population in India, millions of them are still starving out of hunger and lack of food. It's not that the food is not available, food grains are available in plenty, but they do not have the capacity to buy. Not to talk about the stories of the sub-Saharan African, where millions of people, around 9 millions of people, are dying every day, either out of starvation or related diseases. So the society cannot continue where the gap between the rich and poor goes on increasing. The inequality is increasing and widening. So it is time we must move to a holistic society where we have peace, tranquility, cooperation, self-governance should be the pillars of the society that we are looking for. Increasingly, when the world is getting further divided, we have moved away from the Cold War of bipolar world of West and East, and yet we find that a lot of countries are now going into the autocratic rule, and there is an increasing trend towards the rightist government voted back to power. People are losing hopes in the democratic form of government. This is not a great symptom, though the world is progressing. Whether it is progressing in the right way or not, that is our major concern.
Actually, you kind of provided like a brief information from so many conferences we already provided for people, touch so many so important topics. And thank you for this wide opinion about creative society and why is it so important to build it right now, about climate situation, about consumer problem, about way of thinking which brought us to this situation, and how much is important for us to understand equality of every human and to fulfill basic needs of all people in the world. And it's actually possible. It's just very needed for us to think of these topics. And thanks again for raising them through this interview. And creative society is for people from all over the world. You understand it too, and we say it on every our event, every interview. It is a project for whole world. And to unite all people, regardless of their nationality, race, social status, and any other difference, we must have something in common. What, to your mind, unites all of us? What is in your opinion, common in every human in the world?
Very good question. Having lived in different parts of the world, I have traveled extensively to US, studied and worked there, Europe, Asian countries, name any country. I have not traveled. I have seen everywhere there is a common humanity, whether it is developing country, underdeveloped, or highly developed industrialized society. Human being is at the center of any society. And in our olden days, in our scripture in India, we used to say something Vasudhaivakam Kutumbakam. That means the world is a small village. The world is one family, irrespective of caste, color, creed, religion, language. Human being is common to all the societies. But why there is a conflict between one section and another section? Why there is a military conflict? Why there is a conflict among two religions within one religion, when all the religions, be it Hindu, Christianity, Islam, and any other religion, the goal, the God is common. No religion says that you have to become violent. Every religion preaches peace, humanity, tranquility. Then why in the name of the religion two countries fight, or two ethnic groups have conflict? It is because we forget the essence of the religion, the essence of the civilization. We have moved away from the ancient civilization to a modern society, going to a post-modern society. There is a huge increase in resources, technology, making the world connected and interconnected. Okay, you can reach out to any part of the world in just in a couple of days by air, and now we are aspiring to go to the space. 2-3 of our richest billionaires in the world, they have already started exploring to live in Mars or some other planet. Can we not redirect, redeploy those resources for the development of a society, a country which has still 50% of its population below the poverty line? So the answer to this question is, it is possible. And it is possible only when, as I said, let me repeat, we move away from our consumerist culture to a creative society. I am glad that your foundation is preaching that, taking this message from me, India, to the rest of the world, from you in Ukraine or in United Kingdom to me. So this is a unique service you are rendering to the humanity by saying to each and every viewer, whichever country he or she is located now, through this excellent technology media, that we are all human beings, we all look alike, irrespective of our color. There is no divide between black, white, or brown. In every country, you have all these colors, they coexist, they live the same basic necessities of life, food, shelter are the same. Everybody goes to the bed peacefully, irrespective of how rich or how poor they are. In fact, to be fair enough to the poor brethren, they live and sleep more peacefully than our rich neighborhood. The lesson out of this is, it's not wealth, it's all peace of mind. It's your thought process that is important for the humanity to accept that they are a part of the global family. In every family, you have differences, but still we live together. So why not the world become a global family? Take United Nations organization is our, administrative body consisting of all the countries of the world, and accept that whatever the United Nations ask us to do, we'll follow. That does not mean that our country, their independence, no. We have decided to come together under one umbrella, whether it is World Trade Organization for Trade and Commerce, or it is United Nations Organization, having a Security Council, having a General Assembly where each country is represented. Then we have a World Health Organization looking after the pandemic. So the world has given us all platforms necessary for our betterment. Are we making use of those whom we have offered ourselves to be a member? We are still fighting. In India, we have a problem of fighting with our neighbors. It's not one-way fight, it's engineered fight. Okay. In US, you have fights between the racial one section against another section. In African countries, the less said, the better. In the Middle East, you have seen what is happening. So I believe we should do more and more, contribute more and more of our resources for the ensuring a future environmental friendly, climate friendly, with less of carbon footprints. Otherwise, despite all the prosperity the world has witnessed, we may not have a World War III, but we are not living a much better life than what the people of those centuries lived earlier. So the only answer to our future well-being is to forgive the sins of the past, use the current, count on the blessings that we have, and wait for equitable distribution of the resources. Okay, so the poor people will become a part of the richer community, and the richer people will not become further rich at the cost of the poor people. This is possible once we strengthen the organizations that we have ourselves contributed and accept the verdict of the organization, go away from the conflicts, whether it is military conflict or civil conflict. Political differences will remain in a democratic country, but there are still about more than 30, 40 countries which do not have a democratic governance. So it is time for the military rule to come to an end, because military rule will only perpetuate the slavery that we had in the past. Okay, so my prescription is we must go for the common values, common beliefs, which is creative by nature. Believe in self-governance than being governed from somebody outside, where we rebel and protest. The basic meaning of the self-governance is we govern ourselves, because human being, they hate to be governed by an external. So one of your 8 founding principles of creative society is self-governance. I believe that is the only governance that can take us to a global village that we live in now.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with you. Actually, this it all comes down to the personal interpretation of individuals up to organisations and governments about becoming collective and realising that we're actually all just one society, and this is what creative society is here to promote and spread the message about. And really, we've been asking these questions to people all over the world. uniting whole nations, religions, and continents for the last 9 years, actually. And based on people's words, we've built this project, Creative Society. And this is actually what people truly, genuinely want deep beneath all of the divisions, the separation, the control, which is the perspective of, being divided brings about. Actually, people want to be together because then we are stronger. And specifically, people's inner wishes were implemented into these 8 foundations, and that's how it's all come about. So with that said, let's together watch a short video about Creative Society now.
The biggest social polling in our entire history of civilization has been conducted during the last 10 years by people around the world. 180 countries, millions of people of different social statuses, denominations, nationalities, talk about the society in which they want to live in. And this is a creative society based on the answers of the people from around the world. 8 foundations of creative society were established. A society where all people can live in happiness, peace, and prosperity. This is that very society that our prophets bequeathed to us. All prophets talked about the value of life, freedom, honesty, common human values, equality before God, mutual respect, and unification of people, about love for each other. They talked about the common truth and about the world which we can create. The prophets said, there will be a time when we're able to build a creative society. We are honored to live in the time which the prophets talked about, when everyone is chosen.
I want to address to our viewers very briefly that whole article about 8 foundations of creative society you can read. You can find on our website, ALLATRAUnites.com. Please don't hesitate. Go to our website. There is really a very good detailed explanation how this project will take place, how it was found, and stages of building creative society, of implementing it in the whole world. You're welcome, guys. And today I'd love to discuss a few foundations with Dr. Sahoo. And you already touched so many of them. Actually, you implemented them in all your speeches. I see that you really love the 8 foundations of creative society, and thank you for detailed reading and understanding of them. And now let's show to our viewers 7th foundation of creative society, which is called justice and equality. So my question about 7th foundation, you see it on your screen right now, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I know that it touched your heart the most, justice and equality, and you already spoke a lot how much it is important to understand equality of all people in the world. Why do you think it is a key to uniting people, this respecting each other's equality? And when we start really respecting every human, regardless of our differences, how much our society will change?
Good question. As I said, the basic foundation of any egalitarian society is justice and equality. Justice is a very, broad terminology. We have been reading history, philosophy, right from the Plato's philosopher king to Aristotle, who have propounded justice, and Rousseau, the French philosopher, also talked about equality. The men are born equal, but they live in an unequal society. So the goal is that justice should be meted out to the poorest of the poor at the remotest of the corner of the civilization. Justice is not the monopoly of the rich. Justice is truly experienced where each and every human being has access to redress his or her grievances, has a right to freedom of speech, a right to education, a right to live peacefully in a cleaner environment. Equality is much discussed than practiced. I have said the world is moving away from an equal society to a greater unequal society. This is despite the year-old progress that we have made in the last 50 to 100 years with the advent of new technology, new education, discovery of so many startups, information technology, which has become cross-border. The barriers have been removed, but the rich is becoming richer and the poor is becoming poorer. Instead of the resources being exploited equally for the benefit of the humanity, the untapped resources remain untapped and the other resources remain overexploited, leading to global warming, climate, instability, leading to political, economic instability. So the goal of the human society is to build a society where everybody is equal. Equality does not mean that the less gifted will be equal to the more gifted. The uneducated will be equal to the educated. No, equality means how to develop the less gifted, vulnerable sections of society by providing them basic amenities of life, bringing them up to the optimum level. And for that reason, there is a need for sacrifice by those who have greater access to those resources. Then only the society will develop, progress in an optimal manner. So the philosophical idea behind justice and equality remain more relevant, more valid in the current time, especially now that the entire human race is challenged, irrespective of poor and rich. Millions of lives we have lost worldwide, including the richest country of the world, United States of America, and the emerging rich countries like China and UK, France, Australia, Germany, and India as well. There is no stoppage of the coronavirus. After the first surge, we had a second surge, and there is a fear of a third surge where the Delta variants are taking different forms. This is despite the invention of the vaccine that we have been able to make thanks to our science and technology, but the challenge is increasing day by day. It is not technology alone which can bring happiness, prosperity. It is our creative society, the hankering after justice and equality, which is more important than hankering after wealth and resources.
Thank you very much. Yes, answer. And I think it all comes back to how we make people feel, because, like you said, everybody comes from different backgrounds, different circumstances, different levels of education, and And rather than being put on a hierarchy, I think people need to be made to feel like they're equal and there's justice within the society and the community. So thank you very much. I'd also like to talk to you about the 8th foundation now, which is the self-governing society. So what do you think, why in the consumer society that we find ourselves in, that there is no possibility for regular people to influence important decisions for countries and cities? And why is it important to pass the power of changes to people, and all people of the world in the creative society?
Right. So human being by nature, they wish to be autonomous, self-driven, self-inspired, because there are differences between different human beings. But what is common is that the poor also has a self-respect, self-dignity, which the poor values more than anything else. If that is so, then how do we govern a society by an external body? Even in a democratic country like, United Kingdom, that you're hosting this, conference of today, or United States of America or India for that matter, they're all large democracies. We elect our leaders, either in the Congress members in the United States or Parliament members in UK or India, once in, say, 4 years to 5 years. After that, we lose our control till the next election takes place after 4 years or 5 years. They are supposed to be elected by us to govern us, rule over us, provide our necessity, which they have promised in their election manifesto during election. But they fail to be accountable because the election will take place only after a gap of 4 years or 5 years. So this kind of society, though it is supposed to be superior to an autocratic country, say for example, North Korea or some African countries ruled by the military rulers, or for that matter, our neighboring Myanmar, one of the poorest country because it is ruled by a military junta for a long time. And you have a host of examples in African countries where military rulers, they have destroyed both ecology as well as the wealth of the economy. Coming to our own democratic society, also we are not in a creative mode because our rulers, they fail to be accountable to the people who have elected them as rulers. Then what is the answer? Answer is one of the 8 pillars of the creative society, self-governance. Increasingly, even the regulators, supervisors of different countries have come to realize that you cannot rule from the top. It has to be from the bottom. Okay, so anything which is imposed on you, even if you are giving them a temporary permission to rule over you, because you cannot rule yourself, you are not equipped to rule yourself. There has to be some centralized agency which will collect resources, revenues, taxes on your behalf. But they call it power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. The moment you arrogate power to a third party, the third party becomes very powerful and gets corrupted by the system. The ideal scenario is when we go for decentralized society. Every village, every corner of the village should have their own people who come together. Just like, in political science, we used to read about direct democracy in Switzerland. Switzerland is a typical example where we do not have this kind of military conflicts, or there's a direct democracy. People will elect their leaders and they have a right to referendum. They can withdraw them back without waiting for the next cycle of election. So such is an ideal which should happen throughout the globe, not ruling out a overarching leader who is accountable, but in a decentralized manner, each and every community, each and every religion, society should have their own self-governance mechanism. You do not need a central bank controlling the entire banking system of a country. We need that for certain functions like printing of the currency notes, managing your foreign exchange reserves, but the rest of the functions will be left to self-governing bodies. We call that self-regulatory bodies, SROs, self-regulatory organizations. So the basic purpose of self-governing body is this is self-empowering, more democratic, more accountable than any centralized body. So this is the meaning of decentralization. A creative societies should move away from the centralized governance to a decentralized governance, where bottom of the pyramid has a say. Okay, it has to be an inverted pyramid, not a pyramid where the power is concentrated on the top. Okay, so this is the true philosophy of creative society called self-governance.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Sahoo. And it's very important for us to hear this from a person who is so involved into banking system, has huge experience of high positions in companies. So you really can understand if it works or not when you give power to people. That's very, very important to raise these topics with people like you to show it that really we are worse and we really can make these decisions together, uniting without being afraid that somebody will be a weak chain of this system, just trusting each other. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your words. And I'd love to present to our viewers another very important global event, which I know you watched already. It was a conference which took place on 24th of July and which was called Global Crisis. This already affects everyone. I'd like to list very briefly key topics of the conference. It was digital transformation, the introduction of high technology based on artificial intelligence, risks and benefits, the fourth industrial revolution and a threat of mass unemployment in sooner years, the problem of overpopulation right now, rapid depletion of the planet's resources. We really don't know how much it is exhausted right now, our planet. Repeat global climate change. You already see it all over the world. It's very difficult to hide it anymore. Cyclicity of geological events that depend on external factors. Importance of every person in building the creative society and survival of humanity and revival of civilization. Let's watch a short trailer of this conference to show what really happened on 24th of July.
It's a crisis.
Climate crisis.
Climate crisis.
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 It's a crisis.
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 I'm watching this trailer for, 10th time, 20th time already, and every time I'm very impressed. It looks like some movie, horror movie, post-apocalyptic movie, not like our reality we're living now in. And it's difficult to watch it. And I know there are so many people who can't even open it because they see name, they understand that it's something very horrorish, and they cannot afford it. Like their consciousness is closing from this information. And I know that you watched it. Can you share why did you watch this conference and why did you feel it is important for every person to watch it?
You just saw the devastation taking place in different parts of the world. Thanks to the climate crisis, the global warming, wildfire taking in the most developed parts of the world. It is no longer confined to the sub-Saharan African forest. It has gone right up to the heart of the technology, that is, the west coast of United States of America. People are running away from their roots, from their habitats, because the habitats are catching fire, wildfire. Howsoever prosperous, technologically superior they are, the Bay Island, they are not able to control. So nature is not under anyone's control. If you play with the nature, you are playing with fire, and you got to pay price. I am glad that the current administration in the United States has reverted back to its major contribution to the climate control, and India also has joined hands with the rest of the world. The only way the humanity will survive, not to speak about prosperity, but to the basic existence, is under threat. We have seen this trailer, so I am really impressed with your proposed global conference where all of us will come together and check out a strategy, a time-bound implementation plan, how to make our society more livable rather than surrendering our happiness, prosperity at the altar of the climate crisis, the environmental degradation, the increase in the carbon footprint, which is going beyond anyone's control. If we do not arrest the degradation of the environment, then the society is doomed. And what for we are celebrating our wealth, technology, and prosperity if we are not able to ensure an equitable, friendly climate where all of us can live together happily and realize that life is short. If you do not live it well, you better end it soon. So the choice is with us whether to live well or to wither away. The famous communist slogan in my childhood, Olga would be knowing, I wonder the state will wither away. That was the dictum in the earlier days, but now it has become the globe will wither away unless we contain the environmental degradation that is happening every day at the cost of the human society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sahoo. Yes, I totally agree. It was a very impactful conference that we had on the 24th of July, and with some of the greatest minds and scientists coming together and spreading the message about climate change, artificial intelligence, and lots of other topics. And like rightly said, unless we all come together now and make the changes that are necessary, then the future is doomed. So people need to come together and make effective decisions to the stance of change that will impact tomorrow's the next generation. So it's very important to get this message out there, and it was an amazing conference. So we're very happy today that we've had the chance to talk to you and about this online today. And thank you for coming on coming and talking to us on such important topics for all things humanity. These interviews continue like a chain of handshakes. So our guests are inviting their friends, their colleagues, and friends of friends. So by doing that, we've met millions of people already to create this message of a collective consciousness and a collective society. So on that, who in your circle of friends or acquaintances would you like to nominate for the same interview soon we could hold with them?
Right. You have one Professor L.K. Tripathi has joined us during the course of our discussion. He is an eminent philosopher and a professor of School of Management based out at Pune. You have a couple of students like Sneha Sarkar and some of my senior colleagues in Pune is the Oxford of the East, they call it. So I have half a dozen names to recommend, and will be very happy to be a part of your global conference.
Thank you, Dr. Sahoo. That's actually very generous, and it seems like you really love the idea of creative society, and you are already an active participant spreading this information so fast. Thanks a lot for joining us. And I'd love to address our viewers too that actually, guys, any of you can take a part in an interview like this and also become an active participant of building creative society.
My pleasure.
Thanks a lot. And I'd love to show a small instruction how everybody can join creative society in a very simple way. I'd love you a small manual. Like you go to our website, ALLATRAUnites.com. Over there, you will see a huge red button in the upper right corner. There are already so many languages you can choose, convenient for you. You should fulfill few data of yours, not like even personal data, just your email. So we'll be able to contact you. There are also 3 options. First one is just revealing to build creative society, just saying out loud that, yes, I want to live in creative society. Second option is officially saying that. And on the third option is making active actions. And if you choose the third one, we will contact you in order to discuss which way it will be the most convenient for you. Now we are on the informational stage. It's very important to spread the idea as general to all humanity, to show people that this way is possible, and this is actually a solution for all problems we are having now, because we can solve them only together. Thanks a lot.
So with
namaste from India.
Yes,
thank
you so much.
I'd like to thank you, Olga, for co-hosting with me today, and thank you to our dear viewers for your attention. And Dr. Sahoo, obviously, it was a great pleasure to meet you and hear your amazing opinions, knowledge, experience. It's been really inspiring. So thank you very much, Dr. Sahoo.
The pleasure is mine. I wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Dr. Sahoo. That's a great honor to host you today. Narinder, thank you for co-hosting. That was amazing to meet you today too. And for the finale of this pleasant broadcast, I'd like to show you a very uniting video clip of one of our members of Creative Society. His name is Amarendra Sahoo. He's actually a famous singer, and now he's a part of Creative Society. This song is for all people of the world. Dear friends, let's unite, let's save our amazing planet and our amazing civilization. We are humans, we really deserve to live prosperously. Let's break all those shackles of system which we were put in and finally realize that we are one family. I really love the idea how you, Dr. Sahoo, said today, like we can live with our differences in one family. Why can't we live with our difference in one humanity family? I totally agree. It is possible, and millions of people who already joined Creative Society proved it is possible. So guys, do not hesitate. Write to us, join us, and Thanks again for your attention during this video, and see you on ALLATRA TV UK. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Nari. Goodbye, Olga and the team. Thank you once again. Pleasure. Namaste.